My favorite genre of letterbox review are the jokes clearly made for the person writing them and no one else. Like, they are adding context to whatever out of 5-star review they're giving, but it's so specific and personal to them that it's functionally useless to anyone else. So I figured I'd pull a few of my own and reapply the perspective I shaved off. Also, Goat wanted to join. Sometimes all a film needs to click with me is a strong sense of style. For example, the aspect that stuck with me the most from Caught Stealing, outside of what I agree with from Goat, whom I'll splice like here.
Addiction narratives are my hard stuff.
I need some stronger shit, Eddie.
You ever, huff the human soul?
And Caught Stealing hit my brain like CIA-funded crack hit the inner cities. It helps that Austin Butler is pretty like a woman, and his character is something we don't get to see too much of in main characters these days. A person with flaws. And not in the, I care about my friends too much over myself way, but in the way that he is a self-absorbed, alcoholic burnout with blood on his hands and coke on the knife. The only problem with him is that I don't remember his character's name, so that therefore makes him a bad character.
Was how earnestly 90s the atmosphere felt. They got vintage lenses, film grain on the footage, and added effects to the text to replicate the vibe you'd get from films actually produced in the 90s. I've yet to see anything else Darren's made, but he can make a pretty solid action flick. Next on the list is Baby Assassin.
Look, if there's one reason to watch Baby Assassins, it's because it's choreographed by Kensuke Tsunomura, who even if you don't know his name, you know the fights he's had a hand in. And then I'll throw together a really quick little montage for you.
While the fight scenes do go hard as hell, much of the charm of Baby Assassins for me came from the lower stakes vignettes of the girls living their lives together. The dynamic and contrast felt very in line with DCOM's like Princess Protection Program but with projectiles. There's also a lot of moments within those vignettes that felt improvised in a way I found really charming. Then we have the real heavy hitters. Wake Up Dead Man snatched my soul and briefly shook the dust off whatever part used to fuck with Jesus. It was so cathartic to see a conversation between a man with a sincere love I recognized and the jingoistic dipshits who exploit their congregations. All the film needed to emphasize this divide was for the light to shift as Father Judd's faith is emboldened or subdued by the narrative. Alongside another stellar murder mystery, by the end, I regained an empathy I realized had faded towards Christianity, but like Blanc, it wasn't enough for me to stay for the service.
I still haven't seen this movie, so instead I'm going to talk about No Other Choice by Park Chan-wook, whose visual style is one of the best in the business and regularly works with the same level of talent both in front of and behind the camera. He has a dark sense of humor that pairs well with his movies being absolutely soul-crushing, with No Other Choice covering the modern horror of finding gainful employment, and it's probably really good. I don't know, I still haven't seen it yet.
Max and Vincent Collateral should have kissed on the mouth, and I can prove it. Exhibit A, the incoherence in Vincent as an antagonist. The ethical framework he operates through allows him to rationalize his cruel actions as a byproduct of a steadfast and deliberate agency held over their own life, reinforced literally through his affirmation, I do this for a living. This motivation makes him terrifying in his element, but will also be directed towards encouragement and reinforce emotional strength in Max. Sure, Exhibit B. Sure, it's mostly to keep a steady pace for his client's de-witnessing, but he takes additional steps purely for Max's sake. If he thought Max wasn't going to survive the night, why push him to tell his boss to piss off when he's being mistreated? Or listen intently to his mother talking about Max to the point where Max could slip away with his bag? Why does he leave the safety on when Max is about to crash the car? There's a genuine effort made to help Max overcome the cowardice that bound him to the role of a daydreaming cabbie for 15 years. And in doing so, Max gains a small but necessary fragment of Vincent, just enough for him to adapt and survive. On the flip side, it's Vincent's inability to adapt when facing Max at the end that leads to his downfall. Okay, so a soft dom is defined as...
Collateral works so well for many reasons, but a good part of that is how frighteningly relatable Vincent is. Not in a self-reporting on the things wrong with my brain way, but in the fact that despite doing what he does, the movie writes him with empathy. We are given time to understand his actions through little glimpses and half-truths. He has his justifications, and whether or not you believe he believes what he says is left up to viewer interpretation, and it's fascinating. And if that kind of story interests you, stay tuned to my channel for my original audio drama, Tree 11, coming when it's good. Tree 11. It's like Collateral, but there's a cat girl.
Gozu was a surreal and deeply uncomfortable experience. The plot at least starts from a tamer space, but quickly delves deeper into the surreal. One of the first sequences has a woman who responds pretty blankly to being held at gunpoint, and then chooses to drive backwards over the hill she came from. I was already sold. As the film progresses, it plays with your curiosity and challenges you to not look away as it engages in acts I would prefer not to describe. Despite being that much of a baby about the specifics, I still vibe with this film a lot. The reason being, I get the impression from the director, Takashi Miike, is operating on the same logic as the self-entertaining reviews I'm building this video off of. He talks about this in an interview saying, quote, "When you have a script, you have to adapt it for actors from different backgrounds, who then act it out based on their perspectives, and then the crew comes in with their own perspective as well. So it's not until the edit phase that I know what it is I want to make. It's as if everyone there is in the room and they're facing off, and the themes naturally come up and the film produces itself. I don't see filmmaking like a lot of filmmakers. I see it more as sculpture. A sculptor is going to take a piece of stone and they're not going to say, 'This is what I want to make.' They just start sculpting it, and the stone turns into what they want to be. So I'm not actually creating what I see, I'm setting free what's already there. To me, that's filmmaking." By the way, I found this after I wrote the intro, so the whole slicing off perspectives thing is a weird coincidence, but an appreciated one. Makes writing this a whole lot easier. Also, to continue with the premise, the apprehension towards my own cowsona spawned from a dream sequence in which a man with a cow head licks the main character with a sticky, realistic-ish tongue, and it's the closest a movie has gotten to making me physically sick since Hardcore Henry. And I think I'm gonna stop there. I'll catch y'all in the next one.
Gozu is good, and Takashi Miike has the F-slur pass.